Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I ended up reading in the month of July. So July was an amazing reading month for me. I read a total of 8 books, which is I think the best that I've done all year, so I'm very proud of that. I was just on a reading machine, and I think part of it had to do because I was also kind of marathoning through another series, and that series is incredibly fast-paced, so I think that kind of helped out with that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So first up, I have the last 4 books in the Erica Foster series. So these are all of the, so I've read all of the current published works. I think there's another one coming out next year maybe. So I ended up reading Dark Water, Last Breath, Cold Blood, and Deadly Secrets, and I don't want to give too much away about the plot of these because it does tie in with kind of the general plot of the whole storyline, so I don't want to spoil that. But I'll just say, like, I love these. Like, I honestly flew through these like nothing. They're incredibly fast-paced. They follow a detective named Erica Foster, who's a homicide detective in London, and just kind of the different cases that she goes on. So I'm looking at my bullet journal here, and I gave Dark Water a 4.5 out of 5 stars, Last Breath a 5 out of 5 stars, Cold Blood I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and then Deadly Secrets I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. So I really overall really enjoyed these, and if you're looking for a really kind of good fast-paced crime series that's a bit more modern, I highly recommend you check this series out. The Girl in the Ice is the first one, and I think there's 5 or 6 that are, or like 6 or 7 that are out right now. So it's a good series to marathon through, and like I said, like, I read through these really quickly. I read like 2 in 1 week. Like, that's how good they were. So definitely this has become one of my favorite crime series of all time. Next, I ended up listening to the audiobook for Codename Verity, and this is probably one of my favorite YA historical fiction novels of all time. I read this in my last year of university during my undergrad, so 2016, so it's been at least 3 years since I kind of revisited this, and so I was in between audiobooks at the time because I've been re-listening to the Harry Potter series, so I was waiting for the other one to be available at the library. So I listened to this one, and I actually really enjoyed it. The audiobook didn't have as much of an emotional impact for me, and I think that in part had to do just with the narrator, especially for Maddie. Like, you know, the people that like talk and you can like hear them smiling when they talk, so she was a little bit too chipper for the tone, or she would kind of like laugh talk, which I didn't feel really fit the mood of the novel. So I was a bit disappointed with that, but nevertheless, like, I recommend the book over this because I feel like they do, like, the book you get much more of that emotional impact. Whoever did the narration for Julie did it really good. It was just Maddie who kind of ruined it for me, but overall I still really enjoyed this book, and it still is one of my favorite YA historical fiction, so I gave this one also a 5 out of 5 stars as well. Next, I picked up the Tales and Teacups book club pick for the months of July and August, which was The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and this one was a really hard review for me to kind of compile because I'll link my full review up in the cards and down below, where I go into more detail about it, but this is based off a true story and something that takes place in a concentration camp during World War II. I expect to kind of have that emotional impact to me like Night did by Elie Wiesel, or like even The Nightingale, which is fiction, that had like such an emotional impact on me. This one did not, and it's even based off of a true story, and it basically follows this man who is a Jewish man who gets sent to Auschwitz, and he becomes the tattooist. So he's the one who would tattoo everyone when they come in, and he ends up falling in love with this girl, and it follows their love story. And I really like seeing kind of how they were able to maintain that relationship, and I like seeing that even though there's all this death and despair around them, they still were able to find love, which I think was really important. However, I just thought the writing was very bland. The author of this is actually a screenwriter, so I think that kind of shows because it was very snippy. The pacing was kind of all over the place. Like, they're basically in the concentration camp for almost 3 years, and it's like 250 pages, like not even. Like, it's a very small book, and there was not a lot of character development. I didn't feel like I knew any of the characters going on. It jumped around a lot with the plot, and it would just like brush over things. So it was very unemotional in its writing. The writing was very dry and just kind of like, basically, like, when I mean like snippy writing, it's basically like the man was talking, period. He was speaking German, period. Lau thought this, and like yada yada yada. So yeah, I was disappointed with this. I did give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because I did kind of enjoy that love story, but and seeing what happened to them afterwards. But yeah, I was just overall really disappointed with this. So the next book I ended up picking up was one that I got for Christmas, and this is one I've seen like everywhere, and it is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I'm not really into self-help books. They're just not really my thing, and they're just like non-fiction self-help books in general. So I do applaud this book and what it's trying to accomplish, and I can see why some people find this book very beneficial to them, but it just wasn't for me. I felt like she was being very repetitive, and she almost talked in circles to the point where she got very good and creative at saying the same thing over and over again, just in different ways. And yeah, there are some things that I took away from this book, but overall it was just kind of a pain to read, and I was like, I just need to finish this. Yeah, so I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, so I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea, and you might find some useful things in here, but it just wasn't something that really resonated with me or had that like emotional impact where I felt inspired reading it. So yeah. And lastly, this was a book that I just picked up, which I thought would be fun to read, and it is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season of the Witch. And I'm a huge fan of this TV show. I think it is so, so good. And so I've been trying to, like, I thought this would be good to kind of like wean me over until part 3 comes up, hopefully later this year. So this is definitely like helps that. I love this. I was pleasantly surprised by it. It's basically a prequel to the first episode of season 1. So it's leading up to Sabrina's birthday, and I really like this because it had like, it was told from Sabrina's perspective, but there were also chapters that were entitled like What Happens in the Dark, and they're actually in black, and they kind of go into more of the characters' backgrounds, like what their fears, insecurities are, and all of that. And I really enjoyed those chapters because we also got to build upon some of the characters' background that isn't necessarily discussed in the TV show, or it's like alluded to, but we got to learn more about them, and it even like talks about things that play an important role even in season 2. So if you're a fan of this series, like, I highly recommend you pick this one up. Like, I loved it. I flew through it, finished it really, really quickly. It was just like really fun to be back in this world, and it also kind of adds to more character development as well, and kind of adds more to the plot in general. So it was really, really good. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. That's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of the books you've read this month were and all that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.